Well, good morning. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. Really glad you could join me here today. You know, I live here in Pennsylvania, Zone 6. And I planted some broccoli a couple months ago in my garden. And the one thing I do to protect my plants is to install a low tunnel hoop house over my broccoli plants, and I cover it with a spun bonded polyester cloth. It's kind of like an agribond or cover tan, some people call it. And so today I just wanted to share with you some tips and ideas how you can protect your broccoli plants from harmful garden pests. So thanks for joining me today. So some of the harmful garden pests or harmful insects that harm our broccoli or even my kale or collard greens, you know, those in the brassica family, we have that yellowish whitish butterfly flying around your garden. You know, it's a cabbage butterfly, and it lays eggs underneath your leaves, and then they develop into worms, and they really just devastate your plants. They chew the leaves and, you know, basically kill the plants. And so I always encourage gardeners to be proactive in their garden season and spend a little bit of time, a little bit of money up front and protect your plants, and by installing a low tunnel hoop house. And by the way, you may have noticed I changed scenery here a little bit. I have 10 acres here in Pennsylvania, and this is down the bottom of my creek. And so I just thought I would change things up a little bit. And you know, behind me is my camera blind. If you've ever watched some of my nature videos, this is where I video some of my wildlife. But anyhow, I planted that broccoli plants here in my garden back like in the second week of August, and I installed a low tunnel hoop house over that using a half-inch rigid conduit that you can get from home centers for a couple dollars a piece. And then I installed some of my spun bonded polyester row cover over that, and you know, it protects your plants from birds and of course the insects. It keeps the deer off your plants, and you know, the row covers allow the water to pass through, the air to pass through, and you know, I just hose my plants right through the row covers, you know. And so so they're really worth installing. I get my row covers from Rainflow in Lancaster, PA. I get a big roll that's like 11 foot by 500 feet that lasts me almost 4 years. But you can get those row covers online or from local garden centers. So anyhow, why don't I show you my low tunnel hoop house up at my vegetable garden. So follow me along. Well, that certainly is some good exercise walking up from the creek, but you know, it was like 39 degrees this morning here, and so it warms me right up. So you can see right behind me is the low tunnel hoop house. Underneath it is the gypsy broccoli that I've been growing there since the second week of August, and it's just thriving under there. I have already harvested a few heads out of there, but you know, this particular bed here is 4 feet wide by 15 feet long, and these are the half-inch rigid hoops that I used to construct this. I've also did a video on how you can install these in your garden, and also how you can use a half-inch PVC conduit for these hoops. It's a lot friendlier to install, a little bit easier. And then under each side of the hoop you use like a 2-foot piece of half-inch rebar. You drive that into the soil about 1 foot or more, and then you leave a little bit above the soil in order to attach that half-inch PVC conduit. Now these rigid ones, I actually formed these down in my shop using a 4-foot piece of plywood, and then I bent it around that plywood form. But right here next to me is where my big roll of this cover tan cloth, and you can see it's a nice lightweight cloth here. You can also just lay this over your plants, that it's light enough to do that, but I typically encourage people to use a low tunnel hoop house. You can also see behind me that I have some of my curly leaf kale plants that are growing underneath these low tunnel hoop houses, and they're again protected from these harmful insects or garden pests. But anyhow, let me encourage you to think about being proactive in your garden. You know, take a little bit of time, a little bit of money up front, and install these low tunnel hoop houses over your plants. You know, the insects cause disease in the plants, you know, and you know, this way, if they're protected by these insects that like to chew them and just chew them apart and destroy them, you know, your plants will be much healthier and stronger. These broccoli plants have just, you know, the stalks on them are about 1.5 inches in diameter, you know, so they're really healthy plants. So anyhow, if you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them in the section below. And you can also visit us at plantsmartliving.com. And there you can learn more about gardening, and also how you can reclaim your health by adopting a whole food, plant-based, vegan lifestyle. Well, anyhow, I hope you have a wonderful day today. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.